Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are very pleased to have in the studio with us Karen Van Ness. She's the treasurer for the San Diego Association of Realtors. How you doing, Karen?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Drew?
Thank you so much. Over here following her colleague, Mark Powell, who was on last week talking about a whole bunch of cool stuff as well, joined by sort of a frequent co-host of mine. He is my colleague, Cloudcast Media, the founder and CEO, Charles Parisi. How you doing, Charles?
I'm doing great, Drew. Hey, always nice to be on the co-pilot seat with you.
I think that's fantastic. We're going to let you get started because you know Karen.
Well, you know what? First of all, I think it's wonderful that we've had an opportunity to kind of do part one, part two. Mark Powell was on last week, and now we have Karen Van Ness. And I think why it's really cool, Drew, and important is real estate is top of mind for everyone. Mm. You know, it's a source of wealth. It's for dreams. Mm. So everyone's always thinking about their residential real estate, and lots of things happening in the world of residential real estate. So it's great to have Karen Van Ness with us. Karen, why don't you give our audience a little bit of your background, because you've been in the game a long, long time, very successfully.
Not that long.
Well, okay.
47 years, Drew. It is quite a long time.
So there was some child labor laws broken when you started? Is that what we got?
Well, I did start at 17.
Okay.
And I started buying property at the age of 17 for investment purposes.
Wow.
I wrote my own seller carryback note at that point, and I realized it was going to be my preferred way of investing. But I love real estate, but I love helping people.
Sure.
And real estate is the largest asset that most people will ever buy or sell. And it doesn't just represent their financial interest. It represents memories and life and emotional ties. There's a lot to it. It's not just an investment, but we can't ever forget it's significant.
Now,
investment.
you're 17. So what was the epiphany? You were in gym class, you were in a political science class, you were in high school, and all of a sudden, this is what I'm going to start doing. Was your family involved with real estate?
No, not at all. I graduated high school at 15, so I wasn't in high school any longer at 17.
Okay.
But
a prodigy.
I started buying stocks on the stock market at the age of, I think I was 12, maybe 11. I was working at that point. Child labor laws aside. Anyhow, and I lost a bunch of money on the stock market at 15 and decided that I would never put my money into something that one person could destroy with mismanagement.
Right.
If anybody was going to lose my money, it was going to be me. And so I decided to go from stocks to real estate.
Well, tell us about that first property, because now I want to hear this.
It was two homes, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on a 5-acre development parcel on a main road. And so I was going to be going to college, and I was going to just stay and live at home and rent them out. And I did rent them out. And that was the beginning. And I also began working for a broker at that time. And she was amazing. She was a broker owner. She was brilliant. And she was a disciplinarian, which I love discipline. Mm-hmm. And all you had to do was what you were told to do, when, how, why, and things fell into place.
Wow. And how long did you hold on to that property for?
A number of years. Honestly, I've had a lot of properties in a lot of states and in other countries, so I don't really know anymore how long I had that one. I've lost count.
How cool is that, though, huh?
No, I mean, you talking about at age 12, starting investing and then buying property not too far after that. That is fantastic. Obviously, the world of real estate is a little bit different when you were 17 to what it is now, unless you are living on the Space Station Mir. And even if you're living on the Space Station Mir, you certainly know where we are in California, and specifically Southern California with our prices. Is there any end in sight to this meteoric rise in our real estate in Southern California?
Well, of course, because I've seen interest rates up into the 18 to 20,
That's right.
21.
That's
I've
right.
seen them now into just the opposite end of the spectrum, down into the 2.75.
Right.
Both of those are unhealthy for this country, economically speaking. I think our average if you average out, it's above 8%
Right.
is the average overall. So we're not there.
My first house was 10%,
Yes.
1991.
Oh, I know friends that had 18%.
Yes.
And, they didn't think anything of it. It's 18%, and that's what we're doing.
But this is a protracted seller's market. Typically, it would be maybe 7 years. I think we're in about year 11.
Right.
But market forces and forces that impact our country that did not used to have changed our market dynamics. But it will change. The economy will change. The inflation will change. Interest rates will change because they always do.
Right.
Nothing ever stays static.
Right, exactly. We're chatting with Karen Van Ness, an entrepreneur at age 12 and a real estate owner at age 17. She's the treasurer of the San Diego Association of Realtors. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things for people living in San Diego County. Honored to have co-hosting with me a colleague, and he is the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi. Charles?
Karen, we know there's been some major litigation related to the world of real estate, which really doesn't really affect anyone's ownership of real estate. It's transaction costs and how you pay for services. But I don't want to get into the minutia. My daughter's now a lawyer. You know a little about the world of law. So there's multiple sides to a story. Here's what I'd love to chat about, because this litigation happened. It's technically settled. But change is usually in the world, since the beginning of mankind, change is an opportunity for evolutionary growth. So the key is, how does the real estate industry grow, reinvent itself, redefine itself, change the value proposition? Give us your thoughts on what's next.
Well, I'll start with Frederick Douglass, a quote. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. We must constantly be looking forward, not looking back. Back is back. We're not going there. So this is about education. And in the real estate industry, as you know, education is not a requirement necessarily, other than a prescribed course in order to receive a real estate license as a salesperson. So it comes to the associations and the brokerages to train agents, to offer training, to offer education. But we really have to encourage them to lean into it, because their job, it has a fiduciary duty aspect to it, which is to always put the client's interest first. And we now are going to be doing what I've always wanted to see happen, and that is walking and stepping in with transparency. Because to have a successful relationship, for example, Charles, between yourself and I, if you wanted to sell a property, you need to trust me and I need to trust you. We cannot have trust without transparency. Mm-hmm. And because there could be tough decisions that need to be made. I may need to tell you things you don't want to hear, but if I don't tell them to you, you can't make the right decision. And that's my job, is to make sure you have the information that you are owed to make that decision.
Yeah, no question. Well, listen, trust is transparency, said Karen Ness to everyone running for elected office in America.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that'll happen maybe at the next 15 millenniums. We're hopeful that happens. But
hey, imagine if politicians had a fiduciary standard. That's an idea.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. When they start getting have to pay out of their own pocket, that'll be the story. We'll start with that. But Karen, you were chatting about how education is really critical, and that obviously training and educating the realtors on the world that probably every other 5 seconds changes in your aspect of it. But how do you deal with the consumer? Is there a lot of education coming from you folks to, if you're going to buy a home, if you're going to get involved with a realtor, this is what you need to look at? So
we, as an association, our members, it is their association.
Right.
And our brokers are our members. So that's something that educating the public is something that we do want to do, and we'll be looking to do that with brokerages, so that everybody can have, a part in this, in lifting up the industry in terms of its understanding of the duties and the roles that they play. And also for the consumers to understand what's the value of your agent. What is it that they bring? Because they do bring a significant value. A buyer's agent, getting back to the whole antitrust and what's coming out of that, the buyer's agent has a tremendous value, not just to the buyer, but to the seller and the seller's agent. And the investor, by the way. So, I mean, if you can imagine a young first-time home buying couple buys a home, if they didn't have a buyer's agent to represent them, guide them, and advise them, and they don't know what inspections they should get, and they don't know how to check the disclosures from the seller. So let's say they buy it and they don't get a sewer, and the house was a sewer scope, we call it, a sewer inspection. House was built in 1960, probably cast iron, could have tree roots, could have bulges, could have cracks. So they buy it, they move in, and all of a sudden, they've got a $30,000 problem from the middle of the street to the house to replace. Where does that young couple get $30,000? There's no payment plan for that. And the same with a roof. So it's just helping agents understand how valuable their services are and helping consumers understand how valuable, but also helping consumers understand how to evaluate agents.
Well, I think there's another. Oh, I'm sorry, Drew.
Well, I was going to say is that what you just described as a scenario that just happened to a friend of mine, and that wasn't disclosed, and it was a sewer issue, and they had. I don't want first and foremost, 99.9% of the agents are great, cool, honest, and all that business, right? Mm-hmm. Like any profession, there's probably some that could do better job, right? And they didn't disclose it. And so when the inspection came, and by the way, this house happens to be right in the Rose Canyon Fault area, but there was huge water issues underneath the foundation. And so they backed away. Their offer was accepted and stuff. And they go, shouldn't the agent have known this? I would imagine that agent probably should have, correct?
It's hard to tell because if the agent wouldn't be climbing under the house,
right.
The agents are required to do what's called an agent visual inspection disclosure.
Right.
But it doesn't require them to lift up carpets, to climb under a house, to climb into an attic. And that's the reason that we would suggest having inspections. And we would review the disclosures from the seller.
Right.
But I can tell you that sometimes sellers don't know they have water under their house with a perimeter foundation because they don't climb under.
Right. No, that's a good point, Charles.
No, it happens. There's no question. So going back to the trust,
yes,
which only comes through transparency.
Yes.
And I think that's agreed upon. So the question is, I was talking to an individual the other day. She wants to break into residential real estate, and she's got another job. You know the routine, and puts in whatever time she can. Talk to me how a new agent entering into this uncertain residential market, how do they build trust?
First, they need to be educated on what they're going to be speaking to a client about, a consumer about. Because if they're going to build trust, they've got to have a knowledge base that they're coming from for that trust. And so it's education. We have numerous classes every week at our association, and I look at how many people are there. Not very many. We might have 50 or 60 in a class. We have over 11,000 members. And I ask myself, where is everybody? At 47 years, I still probably spend at least 100 hours a year in education.
Wow.
And the reason is things are always changing.
Sure.
Right? I mean, yes, I have a great base, but it's still changing. Mm-hmm. And the young people, they're very creative. So, I've got to keep up on the education to keep up with them.
So you have your own TikTok now, Karen?
No,
but I probably will have to someday.
When we come back from break, I want to continue that conversation as well. And Karen, we always some time to ask our guests, what can our listeners do to help support your efforts? Pay attention. Hug your local realtor and all that business. In all seriousness, become more educated on real estate. And it's always a good thing in that area. When we return with Karen Van Ness, treasurer of the San Diego Association of Realtors, I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for more than 60 years. It's doing great things in San Diego, whether it's focusing on literacy, food insecurity, the arts. Yeah, you pick a topic. Joined by my colleague, Charles Parisi, the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just really lifting up folk live in San Diego County. We are joined by Karen Van Ness, treasurer of the San Diego Association of Realtors, and co-hosting with me, my partner, and he is the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi. Charles?
Karen, getting back to, again, education. Flip the script a little bit, and let's go back to the example you gave with the house and there were sewer issues. What do we need to do to better educate the consumer on the value of having a representative, ignoring how they're compensated, the value of having a representative, and how is it connected to what little you may know about going it alone?
Well, what comes to mind is that we would invite people to come to San Diego Association of Realtors classes. Come, and that's something that we have been discussing, and our president will make that decision. And he'll work with the brokers, reach out to the brokerages to discuss, let's reach out to the consumers. Let's help them understand what they need to understand to partake in this relationship of trust and transparency as well.
Yeah.
As while we're educating the agents themselves.
Yeah. Well, what makes me think of this, Drew and Karen, is in 2019, I had a hip replacement surgery. And because I love science and I like learning things. So I probably watched 50 hip replacement surgeries on YouTube.
And still went through it?
Yeah, no, it's funny because my doctor, Dr. Anna Kaligian, and I said to her, I says, by the way, I could do this surgery. I described the entire surgery to her. She says, Charles, but you're not. Right before I went under anesthesia, I said, I could do this surgery. I told her exactly what you said, but you're not. So this is kind of my point. Sometimes we think it may be easy to do a real estate transaction, but the consumer doesn't really know.
No, they don't. And it's not easy. Something always comes up, and that's just because of human behavioral economics. Mm-hmm. You put people in the mix, and you never know what you're going to get, but it is not what you expect.
I didn't like the cookies they baked.
Yeah, well, I'm not a cookie person, but that could be a problem. But you never know what's going to crop up in a transaction that you will have to be able to deal with, because all kinds of things come out of the woodwork. And again, it usually breaks down to there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of transparency, a lack of knowledge, a lack of everybody understanding this is what we're doing and this is what we need to do and how we need to do it. It's procedural excellence. Mm-hmm. It's knowing the contracts. It's setting it up when you meet a client. Do you do an intake sheet? Do you find out what the material issues of the property are that are important to them? Because if you tell me you want horse property, well, I'm not going to show you anything that's not zoned for horses, right? That's pretty kind of critical and important.
You think?
So it can get minute, but it's also very complex. And I had a transaction recently. We had to bring in an attorney for a title issue. So you need to know when you need to say, "Hey, help! I need an attorney over here."
Yeah, no, I think that's a good. And again, going back to the analogy, I may have thought I could do my own surgery, but what happened if something happened in the middle of it? If you actually could do your own, the key is that's for consumers or someone selling a house who thinks they can do it themselves. Let me sell it on my own. Things happen.
Things happen, and there's a lot of things that an agent does that nobody knows, and that's our own fault in our industry. A market analysis, it sounds simple, but it's actually not, because you want to look for the trajectory, and you want to look back only so that you can put looking forward into context. And it's like, okay, so are we tracking upwards? Are we going to flatline? Or are we going down? And what does that mean on the pricing strategy? Super critical pricing strategy. You price too high, you're going to sit on the market. And your seller may end up losing money if they have to keep reducing, and then they reduce beyond what they might have gotten. If you price under, there's a certain range that's, considered wise and safe, but you don't want to go too far. And you got to be able to negotiate. But you also have to be able to contract. So you have to understand all the language in all the contracts to protect your client.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to you guys. You really know what you're doing, not to patronize you at all, Karen, on this. But I remember when I sold my first house, and this was literally when running water came to San Diego. No, it was a little after that. We had a great realtor in the area where I lived, and he just knew the area so well. He was always walking around and very friendly, and he happened to be an accountant as well as a real estate, so he really knew both sides of the ledger and all this. And I remember when I was saying, I think we should sell it for X, and he goes, that's fine, but if you sell it for Y, and it was like $1,000 less, okay, you're going to get a lot more offers. And he was 100% correct. And I was amazed he knew it down to the $1,000,
Yep.
And of course, that's what you guys do, And so I'm going to give a shout out to you folks. You guys know exactly what the price point should be. And those folks who are not experts in the field and think they are experts, listen to your realtor. Correct?
It would be really helpful if they did. They would usually make more money, have less problems, and be happier at the end of the day.
Right, exactly, and so forth. So we obviously are in a spot. San Diego is 6 straight months now the highest rising in homes, and I'm not sure if 7 months is down the road on this aspect of it. I mentioned this earlier. Is there an end in sight? Hard to say.
Well, if you look at the migratory patterns, California, if you travel the world, everybody knows the name California. It's like the land of Oz.
Right.
Streets are paved with gold, Emerald City thing.
Right.
And then when you get to California, people want to be near the coast.
Of course.
And then you start getting to the south of California where it's nicer. And they get to LA and then just keep on going south because they decide they can't deal with the congestion of LA. And so in San Diego, we see a lot of people coming from the Bay Area, LA, and Orange County into San Diego. It's a destination.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to change. I don't see any reason for it to change. We don't have the earthquake faults that they do up in the Bay Area. We have gorgeous weather. It's always 75 somewhere in San Diego County.
Right.
We really live in paradise.
How do we... There's a lot of conversation about the affordability for young people because we can't afford to lose. We can't have a brain drain in California.
No, we can't.
And young people losing hope. How do we, in fact, what's the hope for young people, young professionals?
The hope is that the politicians, the associations of realtors, and the local government come together. I'd like to see some roundtable meetings to deal with this because I'm not seeing it being addressed in a way that's making an impact in any way. But I think that they're just not bringing enough of the right people to the table to discuss it. Some people think, I heard something about, permitting, contractors permitting themselves. Apparently, they've never seen what happens in construction and development when there's no oversight. So I don't think that's going to work. But I do think if they bring the right people together to a big roundtable meeting, you guys should host it.
Yeah, I think that'd be wonderful. I got a question for you, Drew, if you don't mind me jumping in
Please.
here again. So I grew up in New York, and New York has solved its land problems by we live vertical. So the question is, should San Diego, not all of San Diego County, but pockets of San Diego, should we embrace verticality a little bit more?
I would think that might and very well be something, because we have mesas here, right? We don't have flat land all over.
Right.
And we also have traffic issues and we have water issues. So we do have to consider where we're building and how we're building. And the downtown is doing a magnificent job. And I do see that as being a way of getting around some of our constraints on land development.
And I think they're looking at that, certainly in the Hillcrest area. A lot has been written about that.
Yes.
And certainly in University City as well. What can our listeners do to help support what you try to accomplish at the San Diego Association of Realtors?
I think it would be wonderful if they reached out and said, this is what we'd like to learn. This is what we'd like to see in classes, because we're looking for more to offer. And if people want to reach out and say, here's what we would love to know more about, we'd love to attend a class for this, we would love to meet that need.
And how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
They can call 858-715-8000. That is our main line into San Diego Association of Realtors.
Right. And Drew, I'll tell you, Karen, you mentioned something earlier that I don't want to lose sight of. So, Drew, one of the things we should be thinking about, if there's an opportunity to do an educational session where we could do a spotlight live event, maybe we bring in our friends here at Mission Fed, who are obviously significant lenders in the world of residential real estate. Maybe there's something we can do from an educational standpoint with the San Diego Association of Realtors, and of course you doing your phenomenal stewardship and education.
Well, I would do anything that you want to do with that, Charles. I think it's a phenomenal idea. And the more that we all get involved in this conversation and looking for the solution to this issue, the better chance we have of reaching it, instead of waiting for somebody else to come up with it.
Right.
Good. So we've added some more to your day. So you got 100 hours that you're learning things. Let's add 105 to that as we do this special session on this. That's one of the things when you come on the show, we're going to add more work to your plate over here.
Well, I love it.
Yeah. Karen Van Ness, thanks so much for coming in. We know we'll be chatting more about this critical area of education and realtor and all that business. Karen is the treasurer of the San Diego Association of Realtors. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. In our 18th year, brought to you by the great folks of Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing terrific things. People living in San Diego County, Charles Friese, always good to have you as my co-host, and we hope you enjoy the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.